Hi, I'm Rob McNeish and for the North Grove Farm, and these are our take-home grow kits. We've got bush beans, sugar snap peas, a mix of kale, beets, tomatoes, and cucumbers. All these are really easy to do, pretty simple right now, just planting. When you get your kit, you'll get a bag of soil and your kit. Empty your soil into your pot. With your beans, you're going to want to soak them overnight, so that's what I've done here with these little glasses of water. These are a bush bean, so they're not a bean that'll climb a pole. And they do really well in pots, and you can actually plant them a couple of times a season and get a harvest, basically every 2 weeks or essentially. I'm going to plant them in kind of a 4 pattern, about 1 inch off the side of the pot, and basically putting my finger down to my kind of second knuckle there, and 1 bean per hole. Pretty easy. Toss them in, cover them over gently. You don't have to pack the soil down. If you pack the soil down, people love to pack soil down when they're planting. You're really going to compact the soil, and you make the soil kind of like concrete. It's really hard for the roots to grow through that stuff, and for your sprout to actually come up through your soil. Your watering will do all the pushing down that you need. It'll compact your soil really easy. I've got these little watering cans. I think the ones in the kits are a little bigger, so you can pretty much put a full kind of half of one of these on a kit when you're planting. And then set it, forget it. In a week, these will probably pop up, and then in about 40 to 60 days, you'll start seeing beans and stuff like that. So next up is our sugar snap peas. They've been soaked overnight. Same thing as the beans. We're just gonna put 4 in a pot. Again, kind of down to your second knuckle there, only about 1 inch or so. You don't really need to plant any seeds past that, past kind of 1 inch or so. Some things may require planting it 2 inches down, but these ones are fine just doing that. So picking up 4 peas, put them in around the edge. Some people might say this is overcrowding the pot a little bit, but I think these will just do fine. Cover them over gently, giving them a water. And same thing with the beans, but within a week, with all these seeds, about a week you'll get a sprout. When your peas are about 2-3 inches tall, you'll want to take one of the sticks or 2 of the sticks that's provided and put them in the pot so the peas have something to grow up. You can take this pot and put it up against a fence or something, a chain link fence, and kind of guide the peas to that, and eventually they'll latch onto the fence and start growing or something like that, but the peas do need something to grow on. For your kale, you want to space them out kind of every 2 inches in a nice kind of pattern around your pot. The seeds are really tiny. You can see them there, and they'll kind of stick to your finger if it's just a little damp. And you can put a couple seeds in each, and then when they sprout up, you can pick 1 or 2 of the sprouts and snip them off. And then you'll get a nice amount of kale. So you'll probably get more than you need in your kit. You can plant them all and let them all grow up, but you'll wind up with more of a salad kale than the bigger kale. We are gonna overcrowd the kale in here, so the greens will stay pretty tender. Well, I'm gonna probably put like 8 or 9, maybe even 10 in here, 1 in the middle. And really only to the tip of my finger. The seeds are so tiny, they don't need to go down very far. You could even just sprinkle them on here like pepper and water it, and then that would be enough to push the seeds in the soil, and they would germinate. So I got my little divots. I'm gonna put 1 or 2 seeds in each little hole. And then I'll probably clip, in one of the update videos, I'll show you how to clip the sprouts so that you don't get overcrowding too much. The kale really likes colder weather, so it won't be super happy in these pots in the middle of July and stuff, but as long as you keep them watered throughout the summer, you'll be able to harvest your kale from the time it kind of comes up to all the way into November if you really wanted. Cool, and then I'm just gonna gently cover them over. The seeds are so tiny, you don't need much. And then give them another water. Now the other thing I should mention is that if we do get a couple of weeks where this is really, really dry, especially while they're germinating, and the seeds are just starting to sprout, they need to be moist all the time. So don't let these pots dry out, and don't let the top of your soil dry out. It might mean watering every day or every 2 days, just a little bit of water to keep them damp. And then for our beets, you can put them even closer. You can go kind of 1 inch apart, and you can really fill up your whole pot with them. These are the beet seeds, they're tiny little brown ones. So beets, we're gonna put a bunch in here again, probably as much as the kale. Gonna put them pretty close together. You really can kind of crowd them in. The beets will kind of push on each other and really fill out this pot. I'm gonna grab a couple seeds, and again, I'm gonna try to get 1 seed in each hole. If 2 come in, that's fine. And again, only doing kind of the tip of my finger, not really going down, you don't put a super deep hole, just the tip. Not very far, right? Just kind of to my first little knuckle there on my finger. So just really the kind of tip of your finger. The seeds are so small, they don't need to go down that far to do their thing. Being patient, putting one seed in each hole. Might even pop another one in right here. And again, you can kind of crowd them in here a little bit. You don't want them too crowded, otherwise you won't get any beets. But I like beets because you'll also get the beet, and then you can also eat the beet green. So a lot of people love those. I like them with just butter, salt, and pepper, easy. Gently covering them over, grabbing your little watering can, and again, making sure they stay damp, not super wet, but damp throughout their germinating process. So you want them to sprout. They need to stay wet. And just like that. And that's your beets. And about 45 to 60 days, most of these will take to get to a harvest. Except your kale. Your kale you can harvest earlier than that, probably 30 days. And for the kale and the beets, the seeds don't have to go down very far at all because they are really small seeds. So just kind of the tip of your finger, that's all you really need. And then when you're watering, that'll also push your seeds down as well. For the more kind of advanced kits, these are tomatoes and cucumbers. Your tomato here, you'll be able to kind of pull that out of the pot, dig a nice kind of hole, and you can even bury the bottom of the tomato, kind of about an inch down, right into that, and cover it over, and it should be happy there like that. Tomatoes are a heavy feeder, so they get a bit of a bigger pot, and these tomatoes will grow to be about 5 or 6 feet tall at some point, if you let them get that tall. So I'm gonna plant my tomato right in the middle of this pot, digging a nice kind of deep hole in there, enough to kind of go up to about here. So we're gonna plant the tomato actually deeper. We're gonna cover these branches over, and the tomato will actually send out some more roots. So this will help get some root growth going. You can kind of squeeze your pot a little bit. Your tomato should just pop out like that. You can see all that nice root development. Getting to the end of it's kind of really wants to grow and get out of this pot. So we're gonna give it a nice big home to go into. You can go down a little deeper, and you can kind of cover your tomato up like that. And you can kind of press down a little bit on this just to make sure that it's really in there. Now this is already growing, so you can give it a good water to settle it into its home. And that's about it. Now your tomato kits will have come with a bag of fertilizer. Don't worry about that right now. We're gonna wait a couple of weeks until this tomato gets really established, and we're gonna add that fertilizer, and we'll show you how to do that. Also, the tomato will take some maintenance at some point. There's some clipping to do to make sure you get the most tomatoes out of your tomato plant. So stay tuned for that. Your tomatoes really like the hot weather. So if you get your kit and you're planting it this week, and you do see a frost warning, if there's a really late one, you want to move this inside or or even put something over top of it. You can put a pop bottle on top of it or something like that. The tomato eventually will need support at some point, and that should be provided in your kit. You'll get a pole, and that's only when the tomato gets about a foot or so high. So next up we have our cucumbers. These are an interesting variety. They're called Boothie's Blonde cucumbers. So they are a yellow cucumber, and they grow about 4 or 5 inches long. And so don't be surprised if you don't get a green cucumber. So with these ones, we're going to plant one on either side of the pot, so right around here and right around here. You're going to take your little cucumber plants, you're going to push on the bottom of these guys a little bit, kind of popping them up, kind of loosening them up, and then gently pinching the top and pulling it out gently. You can see the nice roots there that are getting in there. And you're going to make your little hole, and you just kind of want to make it level with the top of the plant that's here. You don't want to bury your cucumber up to here. The cucumbers really don't like being buried. They don't like their stems being buried here. So you're just going to kind of gently cover that over. There you go. And one on either side of the pot. You can give them a little bit of space, and they will really like it in here. Again, cucumbers are a heavy feeder, meaning they take a lot of nutrients and fertilizer out of the soil when you put it in there. So again, your cucumber kits will come with a fertilizer pack, and we'll add those in a couple of weeks. These cucumbers, you can let them grow, and they'll grow out and they'll sprawl around your deck or your front lawn or wherever you're going to put the kits, or you can try to trellis them up something, putting a pole and tying them up, or you can build your own trellis out of coat hangers or something. You can get creative with that. Yeah, and that's your cucumbers. Give them a little water just around the edges, and they should be super happy. Now cucumbers again don't like the cold, so if you plant these and you leave them outside and there's a frost warning, or it's going to get really, really cold at night over the next couple of weeks, you definitely want to cover them over with something. Pop bottles, you can even use a coffee mug, just something to keep the frost off of them. And that's your cucumbers. Your tomatoes and cucumbers, when you get your kits, will also have a bag of fertilizer, but you won't have to worry about that until a couple of weeks later when you need to feed your tomatoes or cucumbers. So we'll have another video about that when we're doing our upkeep for these. But that's basically the gist of these videos. Give them a good water, set them outside. A couple things to remember: to always wash your hands after handling this dirt or soil. It can have some bacteria in it that you don't want. So definitely make sure you're washing your hands. These kits can pretty much go anywhere outdoors that it's sunny. So it can be in front of your house, it can be in front of your apartment building, it can be on a sidewalk, it can be in the corner of a parking lot that isn't really being used, it can be in a vacant lot, on your balcony, in your backyard. Yeah, pretty much anywhere it's sunny. A couple of tricks and tips is that these will dry out really easily. So when I grow stuff in pots like this, will have something like this or a dinner plate and put it underneath, and that'll actually catch some of the water that you're growing your pot in, and it'll hold it a little bit. Now the only thing is you don't want this to sit in water for more than half a day or so. You want to, if this does fill up with water because of rain or because you've watered too much, you want to pull your pot out and dump out the water. So that's the North Grove Take Home Grow Kits. Thanks for joining us, and hopefully your kits sprout in the next couple of weeks. You can find this video on Facebook. We'll also have some follow-up videos in a couple of weeks. If you also have any questions, or you want to send us a selfie with your grow kits and where you put them and how they're growing, you can send us a message on Facebook. Also, my email is on the pamphlet that goes out with these kits. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you soon.